Well, it's tough being a baker. You have to keep long hours. And it's true, I quit philosophy to become a baker. I just needed more dough. um, anyway, I'm getting ready for a wedding tomorrow, so I had to order a lot more Mrs. Freshly's dessert cups. You can put strawberries and whipped cream in these. They're really delicious cakes. And then, of course, I'm going to be up all night making the wedding cake here for the wedding.
Isn't that wedding for a same-sex marriage?
Yes, it is for a same-sex wedding. So what? Do you have a problem with that? Natural law theory was developed in the Middle Ages by St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas agreed with Aristotle that humans have a way that we are supposed to live, but he thought our purpose is given to us by God. God designed us to behave in certain natural ways, he believed. If we do that, we flourish. If we do not, we won't flourish.
The eternal law is God's plan for us, how we can flourish as human beings. So that we can know his plan for us, God gives us both inclinations and reasoning ability that points to that plan. In other words, he gives us natural law. The most basic natural law, the very core of our rationality and instinct, is do good, not evil. But Aquinas spells this out more specifically. God rigs the system so that both our reasoning and instincts prompt us to achieve flourishing or happiness, the good life, by doing the following. 1. Protect ourselves and others from injury and death. 2. Mate, have kids, and teach them. 3. Seek a greater purpose beyond the activities animals also engage in. A cow seeks pleasure from eating, sexual behavior, the warm sun on its back. Humans are always looking for more than that, aren't we? That is, seek God. 4. Socialize with others.
Aquinas' religious version of virtue ethics, natural law theory. St. Thomas Aquinas appears on the scene 1,000 years after Aristotle. Thomas was from Aquino, Italy. His father wanted him to be a lawyer, but Aquinas wanted to be a priest. In order to make him ineligible for the priesthood, his father supposedly locked him in a room with a prostitute. But Aquinas prayed his way out of the situation. He became a saint when, according to witnesses, the Jesus of a large wooden crucifix temporarily came to life to vouch for him. Thomas was an Italian philosopher born in 1224. He became a member of the Dominican order at the University of Naples. He studied philosophy and theology in Paris and what we call Cologne in Germany. He received an advanced theology degree and became a priest and a university teacher. He died in 1274. Aquinas' natural law theory of ethics is very similar to Aristotle's virtue theory. The difference is that natural law says God, with a capital G, created the world with a purpose for everything. St. Thomas Aquinas spent his life trying to synthesize the Bible and Aristotle. In so doing, he is going to Christianize Aristotle and suggest that the moral virtues and moral truths are all the result of human nature as designed by God. For Aquinas, the virtues connect very well to Christian values. Purpose in the world. He gives a few examples of how we can violate our purpose, the natural law and the eternal law, God's purpose and our purpose. Among them are gluttony, drinking too much, and what he calls unisexual lust. The moral law, not these courses of action, is what we are meant to follow. A rock was designed by God with a purpose, to roll downhill or occupy a low point. The purpose of a bird is to fly. The moral purpose of humans is to avoid sin, where sin is what is unreasonable and outside of our purpose. The Bible and the Christian tradition warn against gluttony, and God made gluttony as an unreasonable extreme, eating too much. The Bible warns against drunkenness, and God made getting too drunk not make sense. How does it make sense to drive to a bar, get drunk, and then risk your life to get home, given that you have a natural impulse to avoid death?
Is someone you love someone you hate?
Don't you ever call me a drunk.
It happens night after night.
Does someone you care about have a drinking problem?
Now, whoa.
There is something you can do.
What's that? Don't take the car. You'll kill yourself.
But you've got to care enough to call for help. Call the care unit before drinking turns someone you love into someone you hate.
Also, Aquinas claims that unisexual lust is unnatural and therefore morally wrong. Think of his point in this way. To have no attraction to no one might be the deficiency. To be attracted to both males and females in lust is the extreme. The middle ground, God's natural law, is to want sex insofar as it produces offspring within the confines of a marriage between a man and a woman. Many religious people used to argue against homosexuality in just this way. It was seen as unnatural and a mental illness until fairly recently here in the U.S. Here is Aquinas' argument against homosexuality. The natural law argument against homosexuality. Premise 1. What is unnatural is morally wrong. Premise 2. Homosexuality is unnatural. Conclusion. Therefore, homosexuality is morally wrong. What do you think about this argument? Okay, here are some possible criticisms of the argument. Objection to premise 1. Premise 1 is false. It is false that what is unnatural is morally wrong. Dams, heart transplants, voluntary celibacy practiced by the clergy, haircuts, all of these things are unnatural in some sense of that word. Heart transplants are unnatural in that they require drastic human intervention. Voluntary celibacy is unnatural in that it goes against the volunteer's instincts. Furthermore, P2 is false, for homosexuality is found in nature in a way that voluntary celibacy and heart transplants are not. Gay sex happens in nature without human artifice or intervention. And here's a little snippet from Science Daily that it's an article that's been vetted. Biology behind homosexuality in sheep study confirms. Researchers in the Oregon Health and Science University School of Medicine have confirmed that a male sheep's preference for same-sex partners has biological underpinnings. So that's just one example of gay sex in nature. Now, if we go back to the case of same-sex marriage, it seems even if we take Aquinas' natural law theory at face value, same-sex couples can fulfill the natural law. Both our reasoning and instincts prompt us to achieve flourishing by doing the following: protecting ourselves and others from injury and death. Same-sex couples can do that. Mate, have kids, and teach them. Well, of course, same-sex marriage is the mating part. As far as having kids, at the current time at least, two people of the same sex can't have kids biologically, but for example, they could adopt. Lots of heterosexual couples, I'm in one of those that adopted, so that happens. And of course, you can teach your kids once you have kids. Seek a greater purpose beyond the activities animals engage in.
Well, you can do that by getting married. You're doing something higher than just living for pleasure. If you get married and you have kids or adopt kids, that and seeking God, same-sex couples can do that, even in whatever way Aquinas means. And finally, socialize with others. Well, getting married is one way that you socialize because you're living with another person. So even if Aquinas is right, it seems like it's a misapplication to use natural law to say that same-sex marriage is wrong.
What the? The wedding cake. It disappeared. Now we'll never know if I convinced it or not.
She's gone.